Welcome back to the TD Podcast. We are your hosts, Tony and Dak, and in today's episode, we are going through week 3 and things you need to know, things you may have missed, whether it be news, key injuries, and some matchups that we were able to tune into. And at the end of our episode, we have our power rankings, the TD Power Rankings, where we list off our top 6 teams for the NFL individually. Without further ado, we have our first and 10, which is just a quick recap of the weekend. Dak will go through some news, and I will go through some injuries. And so Dak, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so just the gist of everything before I go too deep into everything. A lot of early window upsets, injuries to some big name players that you're going to get into. Special teams, special players, special plays. I think it's how it went, and you gotta, but special teams was a big part of football this weekend, and it's
What's
a
up,
big part
brother?
of football. It's a big part of football in general.
It's actually a
some
third of
0-3
football,
teams.
so
Um, but yeah, so just some key things to look into. Colts stay undefeated, and they punted for the first time all year. And if you watch the interview with Shane Steichen, they were actually joking around about being mad that they had to punt. They wanted to keep it going for a while. Chiefs got win number 1, and it's now Jackson Dart season in the New York Football Giants. So that is an interesting thing we're going to talk about here in a second. Texans moved to 0-3 and probably won't win the AFC South as we all thought they would. And also, they released C.J. Gardner-Johnson today. Buccaneers moved to 3-0 with 3 comeback behind fourth quarter wins. Something to monitor. The Ravens fell last night due to another fumble in the fourth quarter. 2 fourth quarter fallouts. Yeah, and there's just all kinds of football news in the world. The Steelers, I believe, beat the Patriots. That was a great game. The Packers lost to the Browns. I mean, who would have seen that coming?
that was certainly not I.
But there's I guess there's an NFL investigation going on with $1.1 billion was bet on the Packers to beat the Browns. And I guess there's an investigation for throwing of the game.
I don't believe that for a second. I
don't know how.
I saw that on one Twitter page, and it was like NFC North News or something baloney like that. Unless Ari or one of the big guys posted, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
Same reason I have ML Football and Dove Kleinman blocked because they're a bunch of shenaniganizers. But you can carry on.
Something to monitor. Yeah, and before we get into injuries, unless we want to go into injuries before I have these little headline questions for you.
We'll make the injuries brief and then get into the questions.
Yeah, there's gonna be lots of quarterback controversy that is in our headlines that we're gonna get to with just the questions in general. Carson Wentz played a great game. Will the Bengals go get help? Just a lot of quarterback controversies, including the Jackson Dart situation. What's going to happen there? Is Dable going to keep his job? Speaking of another guy that's going to keep their job, did Mike McDaniel, did he keep his job this weekend by making the game close? Like lots and lots of headlines, but what's bad about these headlines? The injuries that happened.
A lot of injuries. So.
And key name players went out this weekend.
So James Conner is out for the rest of the season, I believe, with an Achilles injury. Nick Bosa tore his ACL, the other one this time. Tyrone Tracy separated his shoulder, which will be out for a couple weeks. Luckily, the Giants have Cam Skattebo, who is apparently just a refrigerator with legs. Kenny Moore will miss a couple weeks. Najee Harris is done for the year with a leg injury as well. Wasn't it an ACL?
Achilles.
Achilles again. CeeDee Lamb has a high ankle sprain. Okay. CeeDee has a high ankle sprain. He'll be out for the next couple games, I believe. At least
6 weeks, I think.
I think at least this week, if nothing else. Mike Evans has a hamstring issue. Watch out for that 1,000-yard season. Not that it's ever stopped him before. Michael Mayer had a neck injury, which was weird. It didn't look like it was too crazy, but he went out and was out for the rest of the game, which really threw a monkey wrench into the Raiders game. We'll get back to that later. And then Jaden Daniels currently doesn't have an update yet, but Marcus Mariota looked good, so we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe they won't have to rush him back, which is always a good sign to keep your starter healthy, especially with the past the Commanders or Washington football team or the Redskins have with their quarterbacks and injuries. Now to your questions. Let's see what you got for us today. Obviously,
so
I can see them, but
just gonna start off. I'm not gonna go by the list that we have. I'm just
Oh,
gonna start
crap.
off with a quarterback controversy. That is we kind of just dipped into. It's Jackson Dart's season. He's getting his first start. He has the chance to be the first rookie quarterback to start a game, his first career start against a 3-0 team, and take down that team since Jeff Garcia, which a long time ago. And Giants play the Chargers this weekend. Carson Wentz, did he make a quarterback competition against J.J. McCarthy if the Vikings are in a win-now situation? If J.J.
No.
cannot, does it turn into a situation like Anthony Richardson 2 years ago where like he's just playing really, really bad, and does Carson Wentz take over? Kirk Cousins is back on the field for the Falcons after Michael Penix played horrible. And they lost 30 to 3, 30
30
to
to
10
nothing. It was a shutout.
to the Panthers. Again, Mac Jones or Brock Purdy. Mac Jones is getting wins. He doesn't look too great, but
No.
do the Bengals bring in help for Jake Browning? Do
That
they
I
go
could
out and
see.
get Jameis Winston? Do they go out and get
Go get Russell Wilson, who just got benched.
Russell Wilson? There's so much to do here. And things that we aren't talking about is Marcus Mariota. He played his tail off, I believe. He's playing well.
He played
over
really
there for
well
the
in this game.
Commanders. And how long does Mike McDaniel stay with Tua Tagovailoa? They're 0-3. Is it time to move on? A lot of quarterback controversy. And I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite or the biggest storyline that you're following out of the quarterback controversy?
Before we get to that, I'll tell you that Mike McDaniel will be sticking with Tua until Week 6, when he gets fired after losing to the Chargers, ending his season 0-6. And my headline to watch is probably the Giants or the Jets. I've been a passive Giants supporter this season. I really like their defensive line. Having Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and I'm blanking. Who's the other guy? Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau.
D tackle, right?
No, not the D tackle. That's Dexter Lawrence. That's Sexy Dexy. Of course, I know who that is. They have another edge rusher. It's not Brian Burns. It's Brian Burns. That's who it is. Brian Burns.
He's a D tackle, isn't he?
No, he's a defensive end. You Looney Tune.
He played
Having
inside, I'm pretty sure.
that pass rush quadrio is what I'm going to call it. I know it's not actually a word, but it has a soft spot in my heart. And then I think their offense or their defense is young. I like what they're doing with their offense. I haven't been able to watch any of their games, but I would also say the other storyline that I'm following is the Jaguars, because I've been also a passive Jaguars fan. I've watched, outside of the Raiders, the Jaguars are the other team that I've watched the most of, which is really weird. Never would I've ever thought I'd say that, and it's not really on purpose either. But I tuned into some of the game against the Texans this last week, and then I watched their game against the Bengals, which was interesting to say the least. And I'm honestly not low on the Jags, nor am I low on the Giants. I think the Giants are going to be the best bad team in the NFL. I think they could, odds are they have a top 10 pick, maybe even top 5 this year. And I think they could be, if they come out with a good player, they could really flip it around. The problem is they're in a division which is pretty darn solid. Luckily, they are also in the same division as the Cowboys, who like to make poor decisions and trade their best players. Um, but sadly, they're playing not even second fiddle, but third fiddle to Washington. So I think the Giants could have a turnaround if they take a nice player coming into the next season. But the main storylines I'm following are the Giants and what they do with Jackson Dart, and the Jaguars and seeing how they do in the AFC, because I think they could be a sneaky playoff team, especially with how they are right now. And barring anything crazy, maybe even come out on top of their division. I haven't let go of that
coming
idea.
on top of the division. There's a lot of 0-3 teams right now, and what 0-3 team, or do you think there is an 0-3 team that can make the playoffs this year?
I would love to say the Jets, because after like their first two games, well, their first game was really good. Like it was high scoring. I wasn't able to watch it, so I can't really speak to how they played. But then their games have been close outside of the Bills game, right?
Which they lost Justin Fields.
In which they lost Justin Fields, exactly. And you see after last week's game, Aaron Glenn is on fire for that team, right? Having a coach that's going to have that kind of energy from that kind of play is a coach that players want to play for. I think if there's any 0-3 team, it's going to be the Jets. You have the Dolphins, the Jets, the Giants, Titans, Texans, and Saints. The Saints have no shot. The Giants have no shot because of their division, unless something crazy happens. I mean, I guess maybe the Texans, if they figure out what the heck the offense is. I don't really buy into the Titans this season. Maybe next year. And then the Dolphins, we all know they're my new stomping grounds team. Sorry, not sorry. So yeah, I think if there's any team, it's the Jets.
In making the playoffs after starting 0-3 since 1990, there's only been 4 teams that have ever accomplished this. So that's 35 years of football that only 4 teams have made it. You're historically you're climbing out of a huge hole.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think about looking at the list. There's 4 AFC teams and there's 2 NFC teams. To me, it just shows how weak the AFC really is. From the bottom part, your kind of AFC to me feels very, very top heavy versus the NFC throughout the years. It's just more top than bottom, I guess. But your middle feeders are really, really good as well. But yeah, I think the Texans out of the list have the best chance, but I don't see the Texans making the playoffs at all, just given how good the Colts have shown, and how bad the Titans are. The Jags are decently good, but the Texans also won the division, so they're going to be playing teams around the league outside of their conferences that they must play, are playing also teams that won their division. Because that's how the NFL seasons work. So they're going to be playing some top caliber teams. They'd have to win 4 or 5 straight just to put themselves in a better situation. And I've been high on the Texans all year. I really thought they were going to win this weekend. I think C.J. Stroud missed one throw that he's going to really, really want back in that fourth quarter, to where he had, I believe it was Nico Collins. He just threw the ball over one step, 1 yard shy of tying that game and possibly sending it to overtime or going for 2 to win the game. So
DBU.
They're right there. They are right there, but this team's taking a major step back, as they haven't taken a step forward, as the division has taken a step forward. The Colts have taken a step forward, clearly. The Jags, they're taking a step forward, clearly. The Titans, they're trying to make a step forward, and they're playing a lot of younger guys in that system to just make sure that they're preparing for later on. The coaching staff has been out and said, hey, we're playing the younger guys. We want to get better. We don't necessarily want to try and put ourselves in a bad situation where we want to win, but we're not going to be good enough to win, and then we get stuck with a horrible pick like at 7 or 5 or 7, when in reality they're a team that should have the second or the third pick. So
Yeah.
the Texans, I think, have the best chance, but I don't think any team this year goes from 0-3 to the playoffs. Now,
Hold on before we get to. Oh, are you still on the same thing? Because before we get to this next thing, I wanna backtrack to something you said earlier. But if you're still on the same block, then we can.
I was getting into the 1 and 2 teams.
Okay, let's wait on that for a second. Going back to the AFC being worse than the NFC, let's think about this for a second. I'm taking the Jets over the Saints. I'm taking the Titans over the Saints. I'm taking the Texans over the Saints.
Yeah, but that's just the Saints.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm taking the Giants over
the
the
Jets.
only team I'm not. Yeah, I'm taking the Giants over the Jets. Jets don't have the Giants have more core pieces than what the Jets really have.
But the Jets O line is good.
Okay, and what can they do with an O line? You have a quarterback.
They can run.
You have Tyrod Taylor in there.
I'm saying healthy on healthy. I'm saying healthy on healthy. I'm taking the Jets.
The Giants have better players. They just don't know how to win.
I don't know. All I'm saying is it's closer than you think.
Look at that defense. Look at that Giants defense. The Giants
I know,
defense
it's good.
on paper stacks up crazily.
Yeah,
their offense.
Yeah.
If they had an offensive line, the Giants would be. You throw the Giants in the AFC South, they could realistically win 6 or 7 games.
I think the Giants and the Jets have the same issues in terms of being healthy and not having a secondary because they're both young. Like both units are young, right? Because you have Andrew Phillips, 24 years old, Javon Holland, 25, Tyler Nubin, 24, Paulson Adebo, 26, Cordell Flott, never heard of him before, 24 years old. They're both young defenses. They both have a decent pass rush. Obviously, the Giants have the bigger names, but you have Aaron Glenn with the mindset of defense versus Brian Dable with that mindset of offense. So I think it would be a good game. Do they match up this season? Because that could be one to watch for me.
It'd be a fun matchup, but I don't think
they
I think
do
they do every,
not.
4 years.
That's no fun.
3 years.
Darn it. They play the Raiders though. The Giants do. Anyways,
50 chance.
I think it's closer between the NFC and the AFC. That's all I was gonna say. But I just think that the AFC has started off slower.
Yeah, speaking of teams starting off slow, Ravens and Chiefs are both 1 and 2, and one of these teams is going to move down to 1 and 3. They play each other this weekend. Ravens, Chiefs. One team moves to 1 and 3. Realistically, we will say, yeah, easily one of these teams is making the play. Both teams are making the playoffs, but 1 and 3 is a huge hole to climb out, especially both teams playing top end caliber teams, especially the Chiefs.
Yep.
I think it is a must-win situation for the Chiefs this weekend because of the division that they play in. There's no lackadaisical team in that division. Versus the Ravens, I think you can take the Bengals a little bit lightly. You can take, the Raiders. I think the Ravens have an easier schedule, I believe, than the remainder of what the Chiefs have. I think it's a win-now situation for the Chiefs to avoid going 1 and 3. And I'll ask you, who wins this weekend, and does the team that lose move to 1 and 3 still make the playoffs?
Well, I think first of all, I think it's a win. You have to win for both of these teams, right? They're both head teams of the NFL. They're both the heavy hitters. That's the word I was looking for. Both teams are supposed to have high-powered offenses. The Chiefs have not because of injuries and a lack of a run game. The Ravens and Chiefs are like apples and oranges right now, right? The Ravens have scored 40, 41, and 30. The only teams, they have been outscored by 9 points in those games that they lost. 9 points. 1 point to the Bills. 1 point to the Bills, 8 points to the Lions. So they're losing to great offenses. What are the Chiefs right now? Not a great offense. I think the Ravens win this game. I think it's close, but the biggest advantage that the Chiefs have is the home game. It's in KC, so that could change the game. It's not cold, but it's the Chiefs Stadium. It's Arrowhead. Fair. It's like the loudest stadium in the NFL. As much as I hate to say it. Now, I would love to watch the Chiefs lose, but it's also I could see them winning. I really want them to lose, though. I haven't watched a Chiefs game, so I don't really know what's going on with them outside of not having their weapons. Rashee Rice is out. Xavier Worthy's been out since week 1 when Travis Kelce ran into him. Isaiah Pacheco has done like jack squat from what I've seen.
Kareem Hunt's been doing a lot of stuff.
Has he?
Yeah, I think Kareem Hunt's been playing decently well right now.
So going off of rushing yards, Patrick Mahomes leads the team with 125 rushing yards. Isaiah Pacheco has 92. Kareem Hunt has 81. Success percentage, so they have a good success rate. So Mahomes has 66.7. Doesn't really count. He just scrambles. Isaiah Pacheco.
Around.
Exactly, yeah. Isaiah Pacheco's got 60% success and 52% for Kareem Hunt. So it's not like they're not successful. It's just they're playing from down a lot. And when you don't have receivers who can really catch the ball very often or very well, Tyquan Thornton, the one game that I was able to watch with the Chiefs, he dropped 2 or 3 passes, all deep balls. Did he drop? He dropped one, overthrown, underthrew. So maybe he's better now. Marquise Brown is just weird. I don't know what's going on with him. Same with Juju Smith-Schuster, and I've heard Travis Kelce is playing weird too.
Travis Kelce was arguing with Andy Reid this week, and it was a big
I can't
big
stand him.
But my next question to you, though, now as we've been talking about it, is this the end of the Chiefs dynasty?
I hope so, because I'm sick of seeing him. I'm sick of it. Like, Mahomes, I'll give him his flowers, right? But I think this puts a pin in he's like the next GOAT. I think he's an insane quarterback. I think he's a great athlete. I don't think he's the next GOAT. I think that's just silly. I think we saw that Tom Brady made Bill Belichick after he left. I don't think you can say the same with Andy Reid. Sure, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have had like linear success, but maybe that's a step. Maybe that's a leap. Maybe I won't go that far yet. But I'm not going to act like Mahomes didn't have the most success when he had a great team around him. Tom Brady was throwing to Julian Edelman. I'm taking Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a Hall of Famer. Julian Edelman is not. No, he's not. He won Super Bowls. I don't care. He had no stats. Maybe that's a conversation for a different day. I don't give a rip. Julian Edelman was a great receiver, a good receiver, a good slot, not a Hall of Famer. Anyways, let's get to the present and stop talking about the past. Well, I guess we're talking about the past, but more recent past. So this is where we will dive into our game reviews. Both Dak and I were only able to watch one game each because I was at my in-laws' house and just spending time with family, and Dak was sick per usual. So of course,
sick, and I was on a golf trip all weekend. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, straight golf. Nothing else other than golf. Other than watching a little bit of high school football. On Friday night, I got to watch a little bit of the IU Illinois game. Saturday night, which was a great game to watch if you're an IU fan. And Sunday, I came back home, which was, and I watched a little bit of the Colts game, and then I just fell asleep and went out feeling good. And I'm still kind of under the weather, but at least I got to watch one game. Was going to watch the Sunday night football game, and I was going to watch last night's game, and your boy just went to bed. So.
Yep. Yeah, so I will start off with the Raiders game. Once again, the Raiders let me down. It was not a fun game to watch for me. I was telling I went to my church yesterday. I was telling my pastor, I was like, yeah, just another year of the Raiders letting me down after having hopes and dreams. The Raiders lost 24 to 41. It was not a pretty game, to say the least. The offensive line is the biggest problem on the Raiders in the Raiders organization right now. Raiders Twitter is calling for the firing of Pete Carroll's son, who is the offensive line coach. It's not looking pretty. They changed up a bunch of stuff. Jordan Meredith is now the starting center. Jackson Powers Johnson is the starting right guard, and Dylan Parham is the starting left guard. Dylan Parham was the starting right guard. Jordan Meredith, I believe, was the starting left guard, and then Jackson Powers Johnson was the starting center. Apparently, for some reason, the coaching staff does not like Jackson Powers Johnson. It's a bunch of baloney, if you ask me. I think by the end of the season, he will be the starter. They should have never switched stuff up because the offensive line looked better last year. And if you haven't seen the stats, I will not stand for any Ashton Jeanty slander right now. I'm not doing it, right? Hold on, let me find it on Twitter. But when I tell you this stat, and when I saw this thing,
Has been hit at least 75% of the time behind the line when he's running.
That's too many. That's too much percent. I am on the wrong Twitter account. It's actually on our Twitter account. Quick plug, if you haven't already, go follow _TD_podcast on X, where we try and post stuff during the games and retweets and all that fun stuff. But according to Ryan McFadden, Raiders running back Ashton Jeanty was hit at or behind the line of scrimmage on 11 of his 17 rushes versus Washington. Jeanty has now been hit at or behind the line on 57% of his rush attempts this season. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. There's one of two things that need to happen, or both things for all I care. The offensive line needs fixed, or we need to be more creative with our run plays, or get him the ball in space with a pass. Now going to the defense. The defense had its woes, but I don't think it doesn't help when you are backed up in your own end zone starting the game, right? Because Deebo Samuel returned the starting kickoff, I believe, to their own 25, 20-ish area. And then there was also a punt return for a touchdown. So the defense did not let up 41 points, but they were put up in a rough situation numerous times. That's why I don't think the defense is that big of an issue. They could have also been gassed. Max Crosby continues to be Max Crosby and do crazy things, but he needs more help. They were, however, missing tackles, which is also unacceptable. Really what I'm looking forward for the Raiders to do next week against the Bears, which I think could be a good matchup for them. I need the Raiders to, one, run the football better. Jeanty's tired of not getting the ball. He's tired of not being able to run the football. Two, I need the Raiders to freaking do something on special teams. There's no reason we should be losing games in special teams. With all the punts and blocks and all the field goal blocks that happened this last week, the Raiders should not be one of those teams. They cannot be digging themselves that hole. And three, I would like some more turnovers. Now that being said, the Raiders did force one turnover by forcing Marcus Mariota to fumble on a scramble, but I would like to see more of that and more capitalization off of it. With that being said, I need to give Trey Tucker his flowers because he had a career day with, I believe, let me look at the stats real quick just so I'm not spewing crap out of
8 catches on 9 targets for 100 and something yards with 3 touchdowns.
8 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And they were all beautiful. Like, he just burned them all. So that's promising because Trey Tucker we've been waiting for Trey Tucker to break out. And this could be the opportunity. This could be the spot. The other thing I need the Raiders to stop doing is taking Ashton Jeanty out on third down. I understand Dylan Laube is a good third down back, but you're kind of showing your hand there, right? Get him he's not that bad at pass blocking. Maybe it's because I don't watch film or can't watch film, but I think you just need to trust the guy and start. Now, hold on. Let me backtrack before I hand off to you. Um, the Raiders also need to be able to get back to running 12 personnel. If you don't know what 12 personnel is, it's one running back, two tight ends, and two running backs. No, two receivers. Sorry. Right, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. And Michael Mayer being hurt and Brock Bowers being hurt does not help that. Geno Smith's stats in 12 personnel are so phenomenal. So right now, with the inability to do so, it's kind of hampering the offense. But that just means we should be giving the ball to Ashton Jeanty more and creating more opportunity for him. Now you can have the. I'm handing it off to you.
Oh, before I get into anything, I'm gonna cover some breaking news that just happened. I just got word. Well, I just saw on Twitter. A bunch of notifications. CJ West of the 49ers, a rookie third-round pick, has broken his thumb. So he's going to be out a few weeks unless he can play in a cast or something that'll allow him to play. And also the 49ers just hosted Shiloh Sanders for a workout. So a lot of injuries for the 49ers that continuously happen.
Per usual.
They have been historically one of the worst injury teams every year since I think 2016. And again, injuries plague them every single year. The game that I was able to watch was the Colts and the Titans. As again, my notes, the Colts finally punted. Rigoberto Sanchez actually got some highlights in, and the punt he had was inside the 10, so great punt. Jonathan Taylor is, to no surprise, RB1 in fantasy football this year, as he's continuously playing and running really good, and is a top 5 running back in the NFL, maybe top 3.
I was very surprised because I expected him to suck this year. I expected the Colts to stink this year, so I traded him. Not looking too great for me in fantasy football, but
I have RB1 and RB2 in our Dynasty League right now, and Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey. But anyways, Cam Ward struggled a little bit as the O-line struggled. They brought pressure. He had nowhere to go. And instead of Cam Ward stepping up or getting away and just throwing it away, he tried to make something out of nothing. It kind of again what happened to Caleb Williams last year, where you try to get away, you try to make those plays that you made in college, and you're just not able to make those plays. You're taking farther yards for loss, and you're setting your team up for failure. Colts defense for 3 quarters looked really good. That fourth quarter looked a little but again, Kenny Moore went out. You're going to have some struggles, I guess, in the fourth quarter when you're up 20, 30 points. You're not necessarily looking to, put your foot on the gas pedal fully. And, that's just player issues. But again, when you have it won, you have it won. But Daniel Jones, Indianapolis Jones, Indiana Jones, whatever you want to say, again, is playing really good. I don't think he's turned the ball over yet. Has the Danny dive that looks really good. You don't have to do the tush push. You can do the traditional quarterback sneak. That looks really good in the Colts offense. Jonathan Taylor again looks good. The offensive line looking good. I think they had their first holding penalty, I believe. Maybe not. But Mark, I can't say his last name. Mark Ganikowski.
Mark Glowinski?
Yeah, he had his first holding penalty, I believe, this year. So the Colts are playing well, but as we get into our power rankings later, I want to see them play against another top team in the NFL to really judge them. The Broncos have not looked good this year. Granted, the Broncos have played some really decent teams besides the Titans. And I guess you include the Colts in that as a decent team. So we can't really tell where they are. I know a lot of people are saying they remind them of the Saints last year when the Saints started off really hot. But this defense has too many stars on there to really collapse the way that the Saints collapsed it last year. Cam Bynum said, I believe yesterday or today, he says they have a lot of leaders on that defense and no one really oversteps. They have leaders in every different category. and that defensive line is getting to quarterbacks. And again, as we've seen against the Titans, they pressure on the quarterback, and if they can get a lot of pressure on the quarterback and create fast throws and quick throws, the defense can clamp down. It all starts from the front seven, the front six, whatever they're throwing out there. They have a lot of moving parts on that defense that quarterbacks are struggling with, and rookie quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, haven't been able to figure it out yet so far. Tua, I'm going to say Tua is still a young quarterback because he's just not ever processed and changed anything, so he still plays like a young quarterback. I believe he's in year 6 or year 7. Actually,
he's 27 years old. He's not a young quarterback.
But he plays like a young quarterback because he can't throw anything other than his first read. Again, he plays like a young quarterback. You play Bo Nix, he's a young quarterback. Take away his first read, he's going to panic a little bit. Same thing with Cam Ward. How does this defense play against a really good quarterback? We shall see this weekend against Matthew Stafford and the Rams.
If he plays. LA. Wasn't he hurt last week?
Matthew Stafford? I believe he's gonna play.
Coming up slow, so I don't know why my mic keeps cutting out. I don't know when that turned off. What I was saying was Matthew Stafford may be hurt, and we will see how the Colts go against the Rams. So hopefully I haven't been off for a while. I don't know what the heck OBS is doing.
I've been able to hear you. So.
Yeah, you have been, but the recording won't be. So.
Okay.
So let's hope that's not hasn't been there too long. So now we are at halftime, which is where we will lead into our power rankings. I'll swap over to our rankings. And Dak, do you want to start off with yours, or do you want to go back and forth, or how do we want to do this?
I mean, I believe our first ones are the Bills.
Yep.
You have the Bills as too.
Yep.
I'll kind of say why I have the Bills, and you're going to go. I guess we can. So I have the Bills, still a top team, another win against the Dolphins. I believe it was a kind of a trap game. The Dolphins were in it, and then they weren't. They got the job done, and that's really how it is. The Bills are really doing this without a true number one wide receiver, and Josh Allen is just playing really, really good still. The defense still is the most scary part to me with this team, because they're allowing a lot of points to be scored each week. Granted, the Jets game, but as we've mentioned, Justin Fields wasn't playing. So you're allowing Tua and that offense to put up 24, 21, whatever points
it was
they
21.
put up. That's still scary to me. And then, the Ravens put up 40 on them. It was a 40-41. Excuse me, a 40-41 game, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So defense is scary to me, but they still look to be the best team in the NFL because of their offense is just phenomenal.
Yeah. I agree with most of your takes. I agree with the defense being the problem as well. Where I defer in that take is that they're fighting through adversity with their defense. Ed Oliver was out. Excuse me, sorry. What's his name? Their rookie has been out. Matthew Hairston has been out all season with a injury that he sustained in minicamp. So they came into the season with their secondary kind of thin, and yes, they have allowed a lot of points, but on the other side of that token, it's been against the Ravens and a division rival. Those games are always kind of weird. The Ravens are the Ravens, whether they're 1-2 or not, and the Dolphins are again division rivals, so you know them the best. So yes, I also agree that the Bills are the best team. They've won every game pretty decisively outside of the Ravens. And again, Josh Allen is going on for MVP number 2. And James Cook looks electric with 284 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. That is, if you want to do the math, that is more than 1 touchdown a game. If you want to be a little mathematical with that. So keep that out in your mind for any parlays that you want to place on the week-to-week basis, especially this week against the Saints. Our number 2, I have the Chargers and you have the Eagles. The Chargers have started out on fire. It drives me nuts. But with that being said, they've beaten 3 of their division rivals, which are like the most important games of the year. They now have a 1-up against every team, and they've beaten them all pretty decisively. If I have to, let me go and
This week
check.
they won by a game-winning field goal by Cameron Dicker, but they still, they still won the game.
That was against the
It was still a
Broncos,
close
right?
game, but it was probably one of the toughest teams they've played all year in the Broncos, because right now I'm taking the Broncos over the Chiefs, because I don't think the Chiefs have a true identity of what they really want to do. Neither do really the Broncos, but I think the Broncos kind of know who they are more than the Chiefs.
I would say the Chargers' biggest downfall right now is their lack of a run game. Let me look right here real quick, because if I'm not
Ryan Hampton had a
mistaken...
decent game though last week.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so Marion Hampton has 142 rush yards and 1 touchdown. Though 2 games that I've seen, he was really slow on. He didn't get many carries, but looks like against the Broncos, what did he
Najee
do?
Harris went down, so
Yeah,
he
Najee
got
went
majority
down.
of the load.
That's the wrong team. Hold on, I clicked the wrong thing. Big brain me. This is why podcasters have producers, so they can have stuff set up for them. We do not have that, so we do it ourselves, and we look choppy. But you know what? You got to roll with the punches. So Amarian Hampton had 19 rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown. Yes, that's much better. J.K. Dobbins on the other side had 11 rushes for 83 yards and a touchdown. So both running backs had a good game. I would say, or I would echo what I've heard a lot from other people who are smarter than me and know more about football than me. Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator, could be squared up and sized up to be a head coach this upcoming season. So their defense has been really good, especially against these offenses that could and have caused problems for other teams, especially the Broncos, which have been off to a slow start, and then the Raiders, who are a bag of tricks, I guess. One week you'll get a full house, and next you'll get a trash bag.
My number 2 is the Eagles. You moved to 3-0, the Super Bowl champs. They're doing what they need to do to win games. They've pretty much said that they are playing to win games. They're not playing to burn people. They're not playing to just throw themselves or put themselves in trouble. Their play calling, I've seen or heard people are calling for it, saying it's not good. But again, they're winning games. They're trying to stay healthy because they know it's a long haul and not a short sprint. And I think that the Eagles, they're in good shape. They're in a division that's dealing with a lot of injuries. CD down, Jaden Daniels is down, and then Jackson Dart's making first start. So you don't necessarily have to worry too much about that. You already beat the Chiefs, so that's a tough game, as you will, to play. You beat the Cowboys in a division rival. That's going to help you all come down to the end of the year. But it's all about who's playing football, good football, and around the Thanksgiving time, and around week 10, week 9 is when you want to get going. And if you can stay healthy till then, you're going to put yourself in a good position. And I think the Eagles have put themselves in a good position to continuously win at a high rate in the NFL right now.
Yeah. I will also echo that point of the Eagles, is just that they play their game of football, and good luck stopping them. If they want to beat you on the ground, they'll beat you on the ground. If they want to beat you through the air, they have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And what's their tight end's name? Dallas Goedert. Yeah. And even Saquon Barkley will catch one and then jump over you in reverse. So, my third team is the Colts. I will echo what Dak said earlier. We would like to see the Colts beat a team with more stature, more scariness, I guess, because I can't think of the proper word. But with that being said, the Colts have won every game that they've played, and they've won it pretty decisively. You can't really take that away from them. As much as I would like to dunk on Daniel Jones, I have no problem with the Colts. I just don't like Daniel Jones. I don't like that he's proving me wrong. Um, their defense looks really good. Daniel Jones looks good enough. He's not turning the ball over, which was one of his big problems in um, New York. So yeah, I just don't think that there's a real big gap on their team. And you, with that being said, you can't be a top three. You can't not be a top three team with no gap on your team. You're not turning the ball over. You're forcing turnovers. You're running the ball well. You're doing well with special teams. What aren't they doing? We'll find out this week against the Rams, but until then, they're number 3 for me.
Yeah, my number 3 is the Chargers. Kind of echo into reset kind of what you said. You know, they're 3-0 right now, but those 3 wins are all against conference or divisional teams, and that's going to help in about 15 weeks because those 3 wins are going to be crucial in their playoff push, and that's going to help them a ton unless they just fall apart somewhere. You know, they are kind of getting injuries to some key pieces here and there, but Keenan Allen's playing. He's just balling out. You know, he's really, really playing good. I believe he has a touchdown in every game right now. We're going to talk about him coming up later this week. But, you know, they have a high-power offense that looks great, you know, and they're playing without Rashawn Slater, who is one of their, I believe, their left or their right tackle. And they're doing this. Their run game is kind of, you know, they're going to pick it up a little bit, but, you know, that's a key miss that you don't have. But, you know, they're 3 for me because I feel as if they are more tested than the next 3 teams that I'm getting ready to say. But if their defense can stay good, stay fair, they'll be all right. And this week they're going against Jackson Dart, so I don't see a reason why they don't start the season off 4-0.
Yeah. Number 4 is the Eagles. Just gonna echo again, basically what Dak has said already. They'll beat you how they want to beat you, and good luck stopping them from beating you the way they want to. The only big thing that I've heard is their secondary is a little shaky on occasion. So that's their biggest weakness, that and getting players to want to play and stay on the field. I'm still not really over the week 1 situation. That was just poor football. That's just not what you do, to stay on the field and hope your team win. Referencing Jalen Carter. I'm a big guy. I'm a big fan of players with high character, and that's just not something that I want to see from a player, especially of his caliber. You want to stay on the field for your team. Your best ability is availability, and taking yourself out of the game like that is just not the way we want to win football games. But since then, he's been a wreck, like a wrecking ball, like we knew he was. So as long as he's doing that and the offense is doing what they do, they're going to win, and they're going to stay in the top 6 for me, at least.
My number 4 is the Ravens. I know they're 1-2, but I fully believe that they are more battle tested than my 5 and 6 teams. You know, the Ravens, they lost to the Lions in a close one, I believe. I didn't really get to watch the last night's game.
30-38.
You know, they also lost to the Bills, and they had that game won. So, you know, they're playing really, really good football. Offensively, defensively, don't really know what's going on. The defense is putting them in positions to win the game, but not to the point where it should be. You know, Derrick Henry's having some struggles, and you know he's talked about it. Said these games are kind of on me. The reason we're losing games. He's had 2 crucial big fumbles, and you know it's hurt them. Do I think they clean it up? Yes. John Harbaugh will have it cleaned up. I'm not necessarily worried about the Ravens. Again, they play in a weak division this year. I have no problem taking the Ravens, still winning this division. The Steelers will be the Steelers, and they'll figure out how to lose game. You know, they almost lost this weekend, but their defense saved them. Aaron Rodgers did not play great this weekend. The Ravens will figure it out. I'm not panicking at all. And, you know, they've lost to 2 really, really good teams, 2 really good offenses. You know, the Lions have a great offense. It's took them a struggle week 1, but week 2 they looked good, and last night the offense looked pretty decent. So I'm not necessarily worried. I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll still win 9, 10 games this year. Maybe they can get up to 11 if they get a streak going, but I'm not really worried about the Ravens. They're battle tested. They have stars, and come on, now, they have Lamar Jackson, one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. My number 5 is the Packers. Through the first 2 weeks, the team looked unstoppable. Their offense was a well-oiled machine, and their defense was causing the offense trouble no matter who they played, whether it be the Lions or the Commanders. They took a little bit of a foul ball here against the Browns, but it's the NFL. It's any given Sunday. Let's not act like the Browns don't have a decent defense. Now, with that being said, the Packers should not have lost this game at all. you have no excuse. With that being said, the Packers are still one of the best teams in the NFL. They're sitting at number 5. This week they go play the Cowboys in Dallas. Now, if they drop this game, that's when some things start to change, at least in my opinion. So we'll see what happens after this week, but as of right now, they're number 5 for me.
Number 5 is the Indianapolis Colts. And kind of mentioned to what you said earlier, I really want to see the Colts play somebody else in these top. For me, it's in these top rankings. If I can see the Colts play a team like Baltimore or a team like even the Packers, just to put them up against something other than teams that they've been playing. The teams they've been playing look kind of mediocre. But the Colts have looked good on all 3 phases of the game. Spencer Strider did miss his first field goal this weekend in his young career. So, that's kind of wild to think about. But they're playing really, really good. Jonathan Taylor's playing really, really good. Daniel Jones isn't turning the ball over. And for 3 quarters, they looked really, really dominant this weekend. And that's all you need sometimes when you're not playing a very, very good team. But they're at 5 for me because I don't feel like they've played really anything. And my number 6 teams, I know there's a team up here in the Packers, but I feel as if it's a kind of a toss-up for me with 6 because I'm just going to go straight into it with the 6 with the Packers because you just talked about them. I feel like it's a mix between the Niners for me and the Packers. The Niners, another undefeated team, losing a lot of parts. And the Packers, for me, you just lost to the Cleveland Browns, who are benching their quarterback either this week or next week, and you're still losing that game. Joe Flacco will be getting benched. They will be moving to Dalen Gabriel here in the next few weeks as Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, I believe he is, if not the quarterback's coach, wants to move away from Joe Flacco, who Joe Flacco did not play great this week. And they still won that game. The Cleveland Browns defense is playing really well and is keeping them in all the games that they have been in. Jordan Love did not play good at all this week, and that can happen. You have young receivers. Matthew Golden played better this week, but you cannot lose those games that you're not supposed to lose. That's why I moved them from 2 all the way down to 6, because you can't lose those games. If you were playing the Lions, if you were playing maybe the Bears because it's a division game, maybe if you're playing a team like the Denver Broncos where they're a good team. You lost to the Cleveland Browns, who offensively look horrible. They have no idea what their really true identity is on offense. You can't lose a game like this and expect to be able to recover and go, hey, we're fine, guys. We come the next week. The type of games that you lose this week is things that the locker room goes, whoa, what are we doing? How did we just lose? And then it becomes me type of stuff. Can the Packers recover quickly? Because that is a trap game that will tear them apart. Jordan Love has to recover, has to be able to move along and go, throw that behind us. You got to blow out this next team next week, because the Packers did not look good at all this week.
Yeah, I know my number 6 says it's the Ravens, but I've had a lot of time to think about this while we've been recording this episode, and I'm switching the Ravens to the team that just beat them, the Lions. I think the Lions have shown themselves as the Lions once again. They're not the little kitty cats that we saw week 1 getting stomped out by the Packers. They're the Lions again. Jared Goff has thrown 7 touchdowns to 1 interception. David Montgomery just had a great game. Jahmyr Gibbs looks good as well. Their offense is good again, and that's really what matters. And I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon as they go and play the Browns, the Bengals, the Chiefs, and then the Buccaneers before they go on the bye week again. I would expect the Lions to be in my top 6 the rest, at least until week 8, especially with how decisively they're beating these teams. They just stomped out the Bears. Sorry, Bears fans. 2 weeks ago, and they just beat the Ravens, who we all consider a top 10 team in the league, and I don't think that should be taken for granted. So I'm giving the Lions their flowers after a rough first week, having a big comeback and really showing us who they are and their true colors. So that is our power rankings for this going into week 4. Now we're down to our 2-minute warning. We are much longer into this episode than we have been in the last couple weeks, so we'll try to keep this at 2 minutes. I only have 2 hot takes. We'll do that starting now. Number 1 is something I've already said, is that the Giants are the best bad team in the NFL. And I don't remember the second one. I think the Jags. No, what was my second one? I've been sitting on it for so long. We're 54 minutes into the episode. I don't know how the heck we managed to do that. We're just jabber-jawing too much. What was the other thing I was going to say? Man. Maybe this is the fall off of the Kansas City Chiefs. That doesn't really feel like a hot take, though. That just sounds like a Raiders fan hoping, you know? So that's not something I'm really going to sit on. That's not going to be my 2-minute warning. The Giants are the best bad team in the NFL. I don't consider the Jets a bad team. I think they're going to bounce back. I think the Jags, this might be one. I think the Jags have a better chance at winning the division over the Texans. I think they're finishing 1 or 2 in their division pretty easily. I think they could even end up at number 1. It's a long season. I don't. Now here's my real hot take. Maybe not a hot take, but a warning, I guess. I don't want the Colts to be a Steelers situation from 2018? 2016? Yeah. I don't want that to be the case. Yeah. 11-0, and then they sucked it up real hard. The Colts have a pretty soft schedule these next couple weeks. After the Rams this week, they have the Raiders, the Cardinals, then they have the Chargers, then they're back to the Titans, Steelers, Falcons, and then they're about bye week. That's really sizing up to be a Steelers situation, and I don't want the headlines to be going into week 12. Oh, the Colts just whooped up on the bad teams, and then as we're going into the playoffs, they're sitting at 12 and 5 with no momentum, and they're just going to go get whooped on in the round 1. I don't want that for the Colts. Now, I wouldn't mind it for my takes, but I don't want that for the Colts.
And your 2 minutes are up.
Yep.
So starting my 2-minute warning here, Mike McDaniels saved himself another week. I think he's still on the hot seat. He's going to get fired the next 2 to 3 weeks. The Browns defense surprisingly looks good and could be the top defense in the NFL.
Who's?
And
I missed it. What? Who?
The Browns.
Whoa. All right.
The Packers have flaws, and we see it. The Colts beat a team they were supposed to beat, which hasn't happened in a few years. Beating those teams, just seems to be a struggle for the Indianapolis Colts, and they finally did it, and they will continuously do it this year. Whoever loses between the Chiefs and Ravens will still make the playoffs this week. 1-3, they'll still be there. Chiefs dynasty is slowly falling apart, and maybe this season we'll see some changes in the Kansas City Chiefs, like maybe Travis Kelce retiring. The Colts are not the Saints from last year. They're actually the Minnesota Vikings. Jackson Dart will win games for the Giants, but not this week. They'll win next week when they play the Saints. Giants start 0-4, but again, they'll get a win. And Buccaneers are a very, very, very sneaky team right now that are 3-0 that are kind of going under the radar because they've been playing very, very close teams.
Yep. All right. We don't have time for our other stuff because we're at an hour as we speak. So we'll just wrap up the video now. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Week 3 recap. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. We do our best to put out content that is worth watching. So once again, if you have stayed this whole time, thank you. We have all of our other handles down below, whether it be Instagram, TikTok. I don't think I have my Twitter down. But then I also have our YouTube, because if you don't know, we are streaming this actually, and then we will post the streams to YouTube. With all that being said, have a great day, and don't forget that the TD Podcast knows ball, and now, so do you.